welcome to Bounty Hunt, a UTD Network podcast where we hunt down all the extra content in the Star Wars universe. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Eilerson. Doesn't work. And joining me on this week's hunt is the full crew to talk all about Cassian Andor, starting off with the man in his, I think, last week of Hawaiian vacation. It's Dr. Corey Helton. Hey, buddy.
Hello. It is the last week of my insane Hawaiian vacation. I'm ready to go home. I'm not gonna lie. A month is a long time. I'm not complaining, but it's I'm kind of complaining a little bit. We're homesick, but yeah, we're having fun. It's been a good time. About to go to Oahu tomorrow to see Pearl Harbor. It's gonna be awesome. It's a bucket list item for me. So it's gonna be really, really cool. It's gonna be really moving, and I'm excited about that. And then I'm coming home. And I'll start my real life job soon-ish, I think, which I'm not a little nervous about. How's it going, Charles?
Don't come back.
Yeah. Speaking of doing normal people jobs in the normal people time zones, it's Dr. Charles Hankel. Hey, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, guys. I don't have anything as fun as Corey to report, but it is a 3-day weekend because I don't work Mondays, and I just put out some Halloween decorations out front. So that's fun.
Did you get the 12-foot Home Depot skeleton?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah.
All right, cool.
You put it inside
on Patreon, right?
Yeah, he's crawling out the front door. That's what it is.
Epic. Which of course brings us over to our own 12-foot skeleton in human form. It's Wes Jenkins. Hey, buddy.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Saturday afternoon on opening day of archery season in Texas. That's the glorious holiday for all the people who work manual labor jobs down in Texas. They won't be at work on Monday. I can guarantee you that. Everybody takes their holidays on early October and early November to go and help fill their freezers. So just FYI, in case you have friends in Texas, kind of in the lower Texas southern area, a lot of people go hunting at the end of the year to help, get better meat than the grocery store, and it's true.
Well, I'll tell you honestly, Wes, I don't think I ever told you this. Back where I went to elementary school, we literally had a district day off on the first day of deer season because there were never enough students to count for a full day.
Yeah.
Because so many people hunted, so they eventually just started giving us the day off. So that's my childhood. We're connected, Wes. But today, of course, on this first day of archery season, intentionally, we are talking about Andor, episode 4, Aldhani. This will be a full spoiler show. We're switching it up a little bit today. If you've listened to our previous Bounty Hunt episodes, we usually go through the full recap and then kind of go bit by bit and discuss. We're similarly doing that today, but after our recap, we have each picked a couple of story points that we want to talk about. So each of us will be kind of leading part of the conversation. So, of course, y'all in the chat that are here, we'd love to see you on a Saturday. Please chime in with things you love as well. And if you're listening to us later, we hope you're enjoying the show, and I hope this works out for you. So, without any further ado, full spoilers, as I said, here for episode 4 of Andor. God, this show's so good. Aldhani. We begin with Cassian and Luthen on Luthen's ship. An argument ensues that reveals Cassian was actually on Mimban during the war. # make Solo 2 happen. But now Luthen wants him to cut the crap and fight for something real. Luthen lays out the mission that Cassian must undertake. It's 200,000 credits if he steals an Imperial payroll, and they head to Aldhani. We then go to Coruscant, baby! We're going to the ISB, the Imperial Security Bureau, and we see Coruscant for the first time on screen since Revenge of the Sith. We go into a meeting of ISB officers led by Major Portuguez, amazing Star Wars name. The Ferrix debacle is revealed, and the stolen piece is recognized by Dedra Miro, who makes a note of it. Might be from her jurisdiction. Meanwhile, Cassian and Luthen land on Aldhani, and Luthen gives Cassian a down payment of an ancient blue kyber stone, said to celebrate the uprising against the freaking Rakatans. Rise up, KOTOR Hive. We then meet Vel Sartha, Luthen's contact, who meets Cassian as Clem and reluctantly brings him onto their mission, revealing they will be attacking an Imperial garrison. Luthen then heads back to Coruscant, but not before adopting his Coruscanti persona as a merchant of antiquities to the rich and powerful. He takes a moment to transform before landing. We then see Cyril, MVP of Episode 1, Chief Hein, and co-MVP of Episode 2, Sergeant Mosk, as they get reamed out for screwing up the Ferrix job, revealing that the Empire has taken control now of their sector. They're basically fired. Cyril responds by going down into the city depths to visit his mom, who smacks him in the face. Dinger then attempts to get permission to investigate Cassian, but is denied by Lieutenant Supervisor Blevin before Partagaz tells her a bit about how the world works, ending the meeting in the best way by saying, "We're done." Cassian, meanwhile, is introduced to the rest of the burgeoning rebel cell, Nemec, Skeen, Terriman, and Clinta, and they discuss Cassian's role in the plan. Then, the time we're all waiting for, Mon Mothma time comes, everybody. She arrives in an amazing car at Luthen's shop under the pretense of buying a gift for her husband, who sucks, Perrin, and as Luthen's assistant distracts the driver with carvings of the Mortis gods, Luthen takes her to the back to discuss their financial distress. A tense exchange occurs, but at the end of the day, they're both still on board. Mothma then goes home to see Perrin, who's invited some of his buddies, who might be political war criminals, over for a dinner party. Mon is furious about his callousness, but acquiesces to the dinner party with people like Sly Moore, who's a great dinner party conversationalist. Meanwhile, Cassian and the rebels go over their plan execution. Cassian receives his homework for the evening, asks if he can just finish his food, and then they sit around the fire and await for the day of their infiltration. All right, fellas. Before we get into our specific points about the episode, I just want to do a brief kind of check-in. We were all very high on the first 3 episodes. A bunch of us, including myself, called it the best Star Wars show we've seen thus far. Episode 4, are we still on board? Charles, brief thoughts.
Yes.
All right, great. Corey, brief thoughts.
Yeah, the show is man, this is something else, truly. Like, the amount of political intrigue that we're getting here is insane. The ISB is here now, which is sick. Man, I'm just I'm so pleased with the show. I mean, the episode ended and I'm just like, this is a great time to be a Star Wars fan. Like, I've not seen any genuine hate online. I've seen a couple posts on Reddit about, like, how were people not liking the show?
It makes no sense.
Because, like, I mean, I don't know. Some of the criticism people have had for the other shows, I kind of see some of it, but, like, I have no notes, and this show is phenomenal. Like, what the hell? Like, it's just, I just can't believe they got it so right, and I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's disbelief. It's absolutely disbelief. Wes, what do you think about, man?
It was all right. I don't think it was as great as the first 3 episodes, but what can be if you get 3 episodes back to back and a longer story. But one thing I did notice in this episode, or didn't notice, that is where are all the aliens? I didn't see any aliens, to be honest with you.
I pointed it out last time. Are you looking for it now because I pointed it out? Yeah.
But it was really because we'll get into it later. I audibly said, "Oh shit," when I saw Coruscant. I was like, "No way, we're going to Coruscant."
Too,
I can't believe it.
Too.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed with that.
Yeah. The beauty of that was just incredible. Same for me. Obviously, this is still my favorite show Star Wars has done. I think it's the best show Disney Plus has put on so far. I agree. I think I still technically like the first 3 a little better, but also that was like it was like a Star Wars movie, and this was one, so I think it'll be interesting watching the arc as a whole. Still absolutely obsessed about it. And let's jump right in to the first point I wanted to bring up, which was the theme this episode of, like, the double lives beginning to emerge, specifically with Luthen and Mon Mothma. We got a lot of great stuff, obviously, with Cassian and folks throughout this episode. But for me, the MVPs were really Luthen and Mon Mothma, and 2 particular points that I want to hear you guys talk about. The first one, it's been talked about really a lot online, but it's a really small moment. That little moment of transformation that Luthen does in the ship, where he's putting on the wig and he's literally kind of like getting his gestures in for becoming this other person that has to be a merchant to these, like, rich and powerful people. And I'm like, oh my God, we've never seen the transformation of, like, you got to swallow the bile and you just got to be like, oh, I have to smile because I'm doing such good work, but it takes active, he has to code switch really intensely. I loved that. And then, of course, Mon Mothma coming into the shop under the pretense of buying something for Perrin and having to be all smiley. And then that moment when the camera literally goes around them and then they immediately turn into rebellion mode. I'm like, oh my God, the amount of mental effort it takes for both of them to hold up their facades until they have a second to deflate. And then Mothma, of course, doesn't get to keep that, because the second she gets home, she's like, oh my God, these bastards are going to come into my house now? Like, what was it for you guys seeing that kind of
Yeah.
back and forth? Because I feel like we've only ever seen I'm fully rebellion, I'm fully empire, or I'm fully turncoat. Like going back and forth has to be so hard.
Yeah. Big fan of that. This whole episode, just in general, like they really captured the like fear of everybody perfectly.
Yes, that's it.
Like you don't know who is on whose side at all. Like it seems like everybody could be a mole, right? Like
yeah, like Mothma says, like I'm under siege.
Yes, I'm understanding. Like. What a great line. Yeah, like the driver. You don't know if you can trust the driver. You don't know if you can trust the assistant. You don't know if you can trust the ISB lady. Like maybe she's. I'm gonna talk about that a little later. Maybe she's rebellion. Like I don't know. It just feels like everybody is like really putting their ass on the line here. And man, they capture that perfectly. Like there's so much you don't know. I don't. It kind of seems like Mon Mothma's husband maybe doesn't even know. Like he's not even in the know. Like. I was just blown away with how well they captured that.
I think they intentionally made it confusing when they had that scene with Mon Mothma and Luthen in the back room, because they started speaking about things that you had no idea about. Like what is their end goal here? What is this band of rebels? Who is their group? Who are they working for? Is there already a rebellion? Have they started something? Like you don't really know what's going on. So I think they intentionally did that. Exactly.
Who's this mysterious figure? I can't think it's Bale because but it is all these questions of like they have that you have 10 seconds essentially while you're behind a wall to have this entire conversation and then you got to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to shout out Skarsgård because he was so believable as like the curmudgeon-y Luthen that went and found Cassian, and then he was just as believable as like this jovial art collector. Really good stuff. And then when he transformed in the ship, I think there should have been like little animated fairy godmother dust that like sprinkled around him.
For real. For real.
Hello. This is not put on his perfect Mrs. Doubtfire, even though he's not.
Oh my god! What a great point.
I love that scene though, for real. Like his little get ready in the mirror thing and his hand gesture. That was just brilliantly acted.
And the
like
music in the back of like just it's tense, but it's like it's subtle, but it's everything he needed just to kind of pump him up a little bit. It was great.
It was just brilliant, man. Brilliant. I loved it. And like the way the ship even has like all of its hidden drawers and cabinets, and like he pulled out all his rings and he put them slowly on all his fingers. Like that was just
so
I mean, this was just, man, they put so much effort into this one little thing. Look at the mirror. He turns the mirror down. Like, it's just.
And it's practical. Like they made, and he puts the hot towel on his face, which honestly, that might just be just to do it. That probably just feels good.
That was major Mrs. Doubtfire energy right there.
Yes, it was.
We're like, again, you never would have told me at a Star Wars show, what's your favorite time? Oh, and the guy put his wig on?
Yeah.
Like that was my favorite moment of the episode. And I'm like,
I think it was. I think it was mine too. It's just, I don't know. We saw in the trailers and stuff that we're going to be getting this back and forth. Just how fake everybody is. Like everybody's living this fake life. One other thing that I will point out that was that also highlighted this dramatically that I didn't hear you mention, Eric, is the contrast between the little team, the rebel camp or whatever, the folks that are like living in the sticks, living in absolute the woods, right? Like really camping, roughing it, man, right? Yeah. And it kept going back and forth between that and Mon Mothma's opulence apartment.
I couldn't believe
the contrast between that. It's just like, this is what the rebellion is.
A lot of white.
It's the highest.
Yeah.
A lot of white
trees. Like the trees that were integrated into it, which we know on Coruscant, like that's the price, right? The green space is like the most expensive, and like of course who has it is the senators. That are, like,
and it just that contrast just captures the message so beautifully of like Alexander in the chat says, like everybody is lying. Like at the top of the top, the richest of the rich are in on this conspiracy, right? The bottom of the bottom, the poorest of the poor, the boots on the ground, they're in on the conspiracy too. Like you
Yeah.
never know who's gonna slice somebody else's throat. Like it's just really, really well done.
Yeah.
Like,
Speaking of Luthen, it was the transformation.
Mm-hmm.
He just starts changing. He's like, oh, here we go.
I love it. Look at it. I know.
Like
For those of you listening to
literally has
audio,
to
just
get
to
in character.
You should
My
just, yeah.
gosh.
So good. Really, really loved all that. Like just the music and how everybody has these like fake smiles on all the time, and like Mon Mothma arriving in her insane car. Like it was just
her
man,
whip, dude. Her whip was awesome.
Her
Did you see
whip,
that thing? Oh,
It was
Where's that
so
Lego
cool.
set?
Yeah.
One of the coolest speeders I've ever seen in Star Wars. That thing looked so badass. They
Yep.
captured it perfectly. Freaking
Yeah.
Cadillac.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Here you go.
Look at that thing, man.
It's got it's got the suicide or not the suicide doors. It's got the
The
Butterfly
DeLorean doors.
yeah, the DeLorean doors. There you go.
Yeah. Corey, you got to sim race that thing, my
Yes.
guy. That's
Yeah, this is just, I don't know, man. I was just so blown away with how perfectly they captured the masquerade. Man, Alexander, you're on a roll with
That's
the
it.
words here. Yeah,
Masquerade.
the masquerade. It's just everything is fake, and like we're in on it as the viewer, but like
Mhm.
nobody else in the show is in on it. So, oh man, I love it. I hope we get more of this. I think we are. I think this is the theme of the show. It's just this
Yeah.
political back and forth and stuff. And I wonder if we're gonna see I wonder if we're gonna transition to the expulsion of like Mon Mothma and stuff, because she was thrown out of the Senate essentially,
Well,
right?
fun
Did he go into
fact,
hiding?
Yeah, there
don't
was
know.
there was a moment in Rebels where she talked about, I forget the people, you guys might know it in the chat. The conversation she and Perrin have is like the day before like the Gorham people or something got their shipping lanes shut off. In Rebels, she speaks about that is the thing that caused her to leave the Senate. So we might
Oh,
actually
really?
see
Ooh.
in the Gorman
Oh, wow.
massacre, we might actually see
Thank
her
you, Crystal.
leaving in this show.
That would be cool.
That would be rad. But of course, like you're talking about backstabbing and stuff, and Corey, you have this point up here that I want to jump into, like who's more deceiving than the Imperials themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying a little different format with this bounty hunt, which is kind of interesting. So, yeah, one of the things I want to talk about was the ISB, because we have been introduced to them in live action, which has been the coolest thing ever. And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, we have never seen any visual depiction in any sort of screen media of like headquarters or like all the kind of commanders in their giant circle table talking to the the head of the ISB. We've never seen anything like that before. Like we've there a lot of shows and some Rebels had ISB agents and that sort of thing. We've never seen this is what the top looked like, and holy smokes, they killed it. Like, look at the building. It's just so crazy and incredible. Like,
It's very brutalist. I saw a lot of people
Yes,
saying
yeah.
that.
yeah, that's a good word for it. Like it just, and it's so petty and cutthroat, and the way they all talk over each other. And,
Oh, there's no right answer. You can't give a right answer.
No.
I know.
Oh, that's
Like,
literally
there's
from
no
our handbook.
praise.
Wrong.
Tell me what do we do here? Can anybody enlighten me with what we do here? Like, I'm gonna start talking like that in our team meetings. Like,
We are
just-
healthcare providers, and I'm
I
like,
I
know.
was like,
no!
nobody would have said
Absolutely not.
healthcare providers. You jerk.
know.
Nobody knew the answer to that.
I know. Like, yeah, it was great, man. Utterly brilliant. I love the political infighting between like the different officers and the ISB. Like that is super cool. This is my jurisdiction. No, it's my jurisdiction. You're new here. Like you don't know how it works. Like
Ooh.
what was the line that he said about the ladder? Something about the ladder. Like
The court trying
Oh,
to climb
man,
the
sure.
corporate
It's
ladder
like
and
steady
then
before you start something like that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like no one
steady
will
before
catch you, kind of
climb.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
super.
really,
It was really good.
cool.
I was
yeah.
I was blown away with that. Just the entire depiction of the ISB has been super interesting, and I mean, it looks like they're setting us up for that to be one of the primary like story arcs that we follow. Right? Is like we have several in the works now too, which is crazy because it feels like 4 episodes in and we're still introducing stuff, which is nuts. So we have the Cassian joining the rebellion arc. We have this new team he's been introduced to in that arc. They're apparently going to rob a freaking Ocean's 11 in the middle of the season. Is going to be amazing.
God,
That's happening. We have Luthen and his double-sided life. We have Mon Mothma and the rebellion political side of things, and now we also have like the ISB and all the political stuff that's going on there too. Like we have a lot of really rich story arcs going on right now that I'm like, I don't know how this show is gonna accomplish it all. Like, I imagine there's probably going to have to be some pretty dramatic like time flashes because they've said that we are going to end up right before Rogue One by the time the show ends. Like, do you guys think that we'll do any of that this season? Are we going to skip any time this season? You think it's all going to be next season?
I think it's all going to be next season. Yeah,
he said that actually Celebration, didn't he? Yeah, he said this
next season will be 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Tony Gilroy said that this first season is going to be like all over the course of like 1 year or something, and then the next season is going to cover all that distance. That's right. He said it was Celebration.
Well, we are planet hopping a good bit, so that's something that we're going back and forth with a little bit. That's good. We're getting some more planets in instead of just one.
And one other thing that I wanted to bring up about the ISB that I noticed is right before the scene change. Let me, Wes, I'll tell you where it's at. I think it's at like what's your 8:59, 9 minute or so. It shows this guy, and I wanted to bring this up because it weirdly pauses on it. It's right after she scrolls when she finds out about the Star Path units. This guy starts talking. This guy right here. He's at 9. Let's hear. Where's the timestamp? 9:15. I think is where he is. It pauses. I think it might be Yularen. I'm pretty sure it is.
It looks like it.
Is this Yularen?
Yeah.
Yularen?
It's Crystal saying in the chat that Yularen's there, and they're having a chat that you could see Yularen.
Yeah, I think
he would have been there.
I don't know if it was in the credits or something. See if you can find this guy's picture.
Is it this cat?
Yeah, that guy. Is that Yularen? I think it has to be. I thought like it was weird. I watched it. I actually rewinded it.
You can't really tell because he has color to his hair, right? So you don't really know.
Right.
But like this is the only time that I paused and I was like, wait, what? Why did it freeze on this guy? Like it zoomed in on his face. Like it hovers here for about 3 seconds. And I was like, this is weird to like give this guy screen time. And I watched it again and I'm still not positive who it is. I guess it could be Yularen, but this was very interesting to me that
he's not listed in the credits.
Yeah. So interesting thing there.
Yeah.
I thought was kind of
Imperial officer really uncredited though could absolutely be.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
fair.
They're so cool, and like I gotta give a shout out to the dialogue, in that particular scene. 'Cause I don't think Tony Gilroy wrote this one. Dan Gilroy, his brother, wrote the script for this one, and thank you, Crystal. So Yularen has white hair and he is in the background of the meeting. He's just a different dude.
Well, who's this guy then? Like it hovered on his face. I want to know who this guy is. Like, is he important or is this just weird editing work that I don't know. They don't do anything unintentionally in Star Wars. So I feel
that's true.
Something could be there. So
yeah, we'll have to see how he hits. But I loved the way that Dan crafted the Imperial vocabulary, because from that moment, the meeting in A New Hope kind of sets the tone for how Imperials talk in meetings, right? And I think that especially Major Partagaz, like that guy speaks so brilliantly. His name's Anton Lesser. He's from Game of Thrones, if y'all remember. He was the one that worked with Viserys in Game of Thrones, and he had a robe and he was really freaky. But he just owned that meeting so well, and the way they spoke about things to each other I thought was so crisp, and like you wrote in your notes, Corey, so cutthroat. I thought was really impressive, and I absolutely loved that. So
I think, like we've said it so many times already, the writing and dialogue in general in this show is, I think, by far the richest dialogue that we've ever seen. I mean, can you imagine what Revenge of the Sith would have looked like if this would have been
I've read the book. I think that's what it would be.
That's fair. That's fair. Know? I can't believe it. I mean, it's so good. Every single time every episode I've watched, I will literally pause multiple times and be like, I just can't believe this dialogue is so good. Like, it's so good.
Like I watched them each twice the day they come out now. It's just kind of has apparently been what I do now, and it's because of enjoyment. Like I remember during the other shows, I've been like on and off about, I'll probably watch it twice if I can, and I usually like to, but these ones I'm like, oh god, I can't wait for after work so I can watch it again. Like it has really, really been there. But we got our ISBs. We love those guys. Charles, flip the coin. We met a lot of other people this episode who are, I'm assuming, going to be giant parts.
Yeah. So, I think that the hierarchy of the ISB, at least as we saw it, was pretty clear. But what wasn't clear to me is the hierarchy of the rebellion right now. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple points that were kind of particularly confusing to me, or at least raised the question. And that was Luthen saying that Vel was his boss, or like that she was in charge. And then him seemingly being able to tell Mon Mothma whether he thought it was a good idea for her to bring someone into the group. So like, what is the structure here? Or are we so early on that there is no structure? And I don't know, why would Luthen say the things that he did? Is he intentionally trying to mislead Cassian to make it confusing for him still? I really didn't understand that. And I think we're going to certainly get more. Like, who is in charge?
Yeah, that's an excellent question.
Yeah.
I was wondering that myself too. And like, I want to know more about the team too. I think Wes, you're probably gonna bring some of that up, so I won't steal the thunder there. But like it seems like you say, there's a lot of very confusing dynamics of. I really like Mon Mothma's line of he's like, "Don't you understand that you're gonna be, as soon as this goes bad or whatever, we're gonna be immediately taken out." And she's like, "Don't you think I understand that? I'm the first person that would be taken out, right? Like, of course I understand it." Yeah, right. So I'm like, it is very confusing, and it's very interesting that we don't really know like what's going on with the rebellion. I think that's why it's so fun, is like there's all this lying and two-faced stuff, because like by the time we get to Rogue One, there's a very clear like council hierarchy or whatever. What are they called? The council? The council?
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Where they're all in the room.
Yeah.
The rebellion is finished. Yeah, that guy.
It's like, why are you a top person? So I think it's interesting that Luthen, I feel like Luthen is probably the leader, and he has this cell with Vel as the so-called leader of that group. But
the Vel cell.
Yeah, the Vel cell. But I don't think Vel's group knows of anything outside of that. I think they think that they are the only ones that are fighting for the right cause. They know. Apparently, they know
worth fighting for.
Apparently, they know of Saw Gerrera, because we got a name drop there. So there's that. There's that more, I guess, barbaric part of the rebellion there that Saw Gerrera is running. Maybe not now, but so. They have Vel cell that they think they are the only ones, maybe. But I think Luthen has these different cells all across the galaxy that he's trying to manage, but they don't know about each other. Basically as a, what do you call it when you like an LLC. So you don't put all your so you don't put all your money in one basket, right? If one gets wiped out, then you have some others to go, that don't know anybody else's secrets. If they get tortured, they don't know anything about anybody else.
Literally what Alexander said in the chat. You can't betray anyone else if you don't know anything.
I swear I didn't read that before I said that.
No, but I think that's a great point. I think that I do think that Luthen is a point man. I think for Vel, he's like, I honestly don't know if any of the other people in the Vel cell know about Luthen. I love
the Vel cell
like,
name.
It's really fun now. I think that she's the only one that knows, which is why she says like this has to be my idea, because they also have to believe that Vel knows what she's doing because they are under such stress. So it's like, listen, they need to assume I am in charge of everything, and even if I get these orders from Luthen, who is probably one level up, Luthen knows the game, and he's like, you treat her as the boss because this cannot fail, right? That's the whole thing. Like this has to work. Or else we're pulling it all. And that whole cell, including I think his name's Skeen, but I'm gonna call him Cousin because of the bear. He's amazing. If you guys have watched the Bear on FX, he's very clearly he's on that show very prominently, and he calls him Cousin the whole time, and I love him. But I feel like they are just about to crack, just like Mon Mothma is just about to crack, and Luthen is just seeing all these people about to explode, and he's like, just hold your shit together, all right? You hold your shit together, and I will just hold the strings and barely try. And like, if anything goes, I do think though that Luthen is not afraid to let people go. If he's like, if you screw up, great, you're gone, and I will disavow you forever, and you know that going in.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I like them. I'm interested in them. I mean, obviously they're the focus of this arc. There's a reason that we're bringing them in. And I listened to Tony Giori did a great interview on the Watch podcast, which is on the Ringer Podcast Network, where he was very open about the show and talked about how this event is kind of like this arc, and I really love that we have that information going in, knowing that, like you said, Corey, we're going to get this Ocean's 11 moment with them, and I do think, Charles, to your point, by the end we're going to figure out like who's in charge. Do they report to someone at the end? Do they stay on Aldhani afterwards, or is this just one planet for one mission, and then do they peace out?
Yeah.
So speaking of that, pivoting to the Rebels themselves. Let's
do it.
This is live action, the pre-Rebels. First time we've seen Rebels, like the first time we've actually seen them in this part of the timeline, I guess. So, very early. Well, maybe not the first, but very early stages. Let's say
Rebels
that.
season 1 happened at the same time, so it's like that same vibe.
So when Clem, what a great name, Clem first shows up, we have the Rebels.
It's his dad's name.
Oh, is that? That's what it's from?
Left.
Name.
Okay.
Yep.
So here's a picture of, we have the Rebels. The left, so the far on the left, that's Taramin. And then for people who are watching on the podcast itself on YouTube, and on the middle, that is Cinta. And in the one right next to it is Nemec. He's the one with the hat.
Nemec and the models, as Cohen says in the chat.
And the one on the right is Skeen, or the bear, or the cousin, or whatever you want to call it. But yes, so this is the first instance we see this group of rebels. They are on Aldhani, right? It looks like they are in the woods. It was 52 clicks. Is that what it is? 52 clicks from the actual armory, where they have weapons. They have this giant cache, basically, of money, payroll, that they're trying to score. So that's the overall goal here, is to grab this cache of money, apparently to fund the rebellion. From what we saw with the backroom talk between Luthen and Mon Mothma. So while we have this group of rebels on Aldhani in the backwoods, ready to get this plan together, Clem or Cassian Andor is like, this isn't gonna work. They have TIE fighters. They're gonna come blow you away in a matter of minutes. And he's like, yeah, we know that. And he was like, like, okay, it's a suicide mission.
Yeah, 9 minutes.
Already this is a suicide mission, because I feel like we're gonna have one years from now, but not right now. So they have every 3 years on this planet there is some type of meteor shower that's not really a meteor shower. We get a better definition from Nemec later on in the episode, but it will shade, or it will help cover their tracks whenever they try to leave the planet. So that is the basic overall concept of what they were trying to do: steal the money from the garrison, and then fly away with this meteor shower as something that stops the TIE fighters from shooting them down.
That's going to be visually gorgeous. Can you just like, we're going to see that. We're going to see meteors going around a ship.
And they have the 2022 CGI. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be movie quality that we're going to see that, I think. But
it's just such a rad plan.
Yeah, and they have goats. They have goats, and looks like
they have
lambs there. So they're
Star Wars goats.
They're eating pretty well.
Bunch of horns.
I can see.
Just goats with horns on their faces.
I didn't see any liquid pop-up bread that they were at the campfire with, so they were eating meat. They were having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like them because they are unlike any of the groups we've seen in other, like Crystal says, in Rebel Season 1, or any of the other places where we've seen the smaller cells, especially to the Rogue One. By the time we get to that official council, like we said earlier, they're just like folks that are just like living there. They're eating on fire, and they're like, all right, we're going to try this. And it really feels more, I think we use this word a lot, like ragtag than usual. And I never thought I'd think that the freaking OT rebellion was organized. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh my God, they are very clear. These guys, if you called one of them captain, I think they'd punch you in the face. Like, I'm not a general.
Well,
who gives a who cares?
I forgot about the guy they have on the inside. They have Lieutenant Gorn is on the inside, and he is pissed that they didn't tell him beforehand. He said, "What if I wasn't going to be here in 3 days' time?" He's like, "I had trust in you. I trusted you would be here." He was like, whatever. You need to let me know. But she broke kayfabe. For all you wrestling fans, he's like, I think I should have been consulted. Like that, we both agree on. And I was like, ooh. I wish he would have questioned her about, what do you mean we both agree on that? Who did inform you? And then would have had this whole thing about the leadership role.
Too many questions, you die.
Yes. So they have a guy on the inside, Lieutenant Gorn. So that's their in. Do they have more? Is he the only one? I don't know. I mean, he took a speeder there. Is that speeder being tracked? Obviously not. Or is it?
Right. Well, and it sounds like they're saying, there's like less security there now, and they've kind of like,
That's
they
right.
got all the inside information.
Skeleton crew
for distribution. Yeah. I also love how this show is written so well that we are all getting excited about the idea of quarterly payrolls. Like, that's the big thing. It's like, it's our quarterly books. And we're like, yeah, Star Wars. Like, it's exciting because they write this stuff so well. And so, like, with so much intrigue, that this kind of relatively mundane management is exciting, because that's where the rebellion is at this point. He's like, we just need funds to get to next month. Like, we just need to get out somewhere, and we will be willing to die just so we can fund probably the next suicide mission. And all these guys are in on it. So I really love that.
That's a good point. Is Lieutenant Gorn a double agent? Do we get our first double agent within the rebellion? That would be nuts.
Yeah. Does
like
he stay
that
in
early
after this mission?
Yeah.
Does he survive this mission?
Oh,
does anyone survive this mission but Cassian? I think it's like there's lots of
1 of 50.
Because all these characters are like technically kind of like they're replaceable.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of what they're signing on for. And then my last point I wanted to make, a guy we haven't really talked about a lot is our boy from the first arc, is Cyril, who gets a dramatic talking down in this episode of like, yo, you screwed up. Not only did you screw up so bad that you are going to be demoted, but now, from my understanding, the Empire has now kind of taken control of the Ferrix sector, and the Primo, like the corporate guys, no longer have jurisdiction. Did you guys get that vibe? That the blue guys are now like, we're going to see stormtroopers there instead of these guys now?
Oh, yeah. Yes, and man, did the head guy just be like, I didn't have anything to do with this. This isn't me. And I was like, oh my God, way to throw your guys under the bus, dude. Like, what's the matter with you?
There's a quote that's like, what is it? It took the combination of like ineptitude, complete dissolution, or like, there's a wonderful line about how, all three of you did the exact wrong thing to allow this to happen, you idiots.
I know.
They're all fired.
Not to hijack your point, Eric, but yours, and I think the last one I kind of want to talk about are the same thing, because we not only see this guy get fired and all of them get fired, we see him then like go home, tail between his legs. I thought it was really cool how we saw him on the top of beautiful Coruscant, and then you realize, oh no, he's going down, and it gets darker like as the elders go down. He goes to his mom's apartment. And his mama smacked this man immediately.
I know.
Yeah.
What has he done?
Steering.
Well, what has he done?
That's part of the question. And two,
he probably hasn't seen her in years, that jerk.
No, they didn't call. I think they didn't call her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And two, they're clearly trying to show this man breaking. So like, what does he do once he's broken? Does he then join the Imperials? Do we see him like join up with them? Do we see him actually be so anti-Imperial from being embarrassed that he joins the rebellion? Like, where is this guy going? What's the point of showing his mom smack him?
Yeah. Because that's the question.
Here's the picture of the living quarters.
I know.
The living quarters is very barren. Only concrete. They didn't paint. They have few lights. I mean,
yeah. Also, he totally left his suitcases outside the door, and that really bothered me. But,
yeah, he did. He absolutely did.
He didn't lean back over to pick them back up before he went in the door, and that annoyed me. I was like, "What about his suitcases?" I like yelled at the TV.
I'm out of
here. Two small things about that. Yeah, he left his suitcases out there. And two, the actress. That's I don't know what her name is, but I immediately noticed that she's in Harry Potter. She plays the witness. Like, remember, she's like,
my gosh.
Dumbledore like puts her in town to exactly, the one that's like, what did they look like? And she starts describing the kids. She's like, one was really skinny and short, the other one's pretty fat and round. He's like, no, not the children. Like, she's that lady from Harry Potter.
Mrs. Fig.
Mrs. Fig. I cannot believe you remember that. Yeah,
I have no idea. That took a second.
That's funny. Yeah, that's who the actress is. I recognized her immediately. The other thing I want to say is I want to double down on my rebellion arc now, because I've seen this all over the internet now. People are saying, oh yeah, I think it's going to go rebellion. And I brought that up last episode.
You did.
And you guys were like, no way. There's no way he's going to be rebellion. I'm like, I think he might be. And I don't know. I think that might be the direction we're going with him. A little bit of speculation there.
Yeah.
Well, he also did all this work, and it does look like I mean, we can't quite tell everything, but from that picture you showed, Wes, of the living quarters, it looks kind of like standardized, like low-income housing that his mom is in. And I'm like, so he probably did all this work and was working for promotions, and then didn't get any money and just got kicked to the curb. And as we know, anything from especially Callus, like that was why Callus and Rebels shifted, because you realize that they don't have your best interests. I also want to point out, I did find the quote I was looking for, and it says, "It took the combined ingredients of idiocy, ineptitude, and total disengagement for this farce to reach the full apex of incredulous disaster."
My God.
Look at that. Wow, what a quote.
I'm telling you, this writing, I'm
It's
telling
amazing.
you, the dialogue and the
It's-
writing is the richest by far. It's not even a compliment. It's not even a question.
No.
Like, this is just
So
the
we have
richest.
That line,
Anything.
and we also have, "They fly now?" Like, come on!
I know.
Sorry.
It's just like not even a it's not even a competition. It's
It's
just
amazing.
really, really incredible how good the writing
And
is.
One of my favorites.
I tracked down one of the ISB. It looks like one of the assistants to the ISB agents. This, all right, this guy, they zoomed in on his face, I think on purpose. But he doesn't this fool look like Tarkin
yeah.
with the cheekbones
does.
like sunk in?
Yeah.
I
A
mean,
little bit. Looks a little like talking.
Yeah.
I love that they created like a little bit of a stereotype here with like
Yes.
a kind of feminine male assistant, like is cool. Like, of course there would be gay men in the Imperials. Like,
Oh my God, I
like,
hope.
yeah.
Oh my God, Tarkin and meets
Yes.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Alexander.
you go.
Oh my
Oh my
God,
God,
here he
that's exactly what it
is.
is. That's exactly who he is. Yeah, I love
Oh
this
my.
character. I hope we get more of him because, like, he was sassy and he was like, what did he say? He was like, you know, it might mean more if you wins. Like, he obviously tried to weasel his way out of doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I like this guy a lot. I
Yeah.
hope we get more of him.
Well, I think we're gonna get more of Dedra because she's now attached to this Star Path unit and is learning about the the how it all works. And clearly, based upon even just previews we've seen, I think she's either going to figure out a way to get approval to go after this unit, or she's just gonna kind of go for it on her own. Like,
yeah.
she
Why
was
does she?
really
Why does
interesting.
she? Why does she care about it? Like, I'm very interested in this character. This is one of the other notes that I had here is kind of about the ISB, and my interest there is like, she's very interesting. Like her facial acting is very interesting. Like,
Yes.
like she very much wears kind of emotions on her sleeve a little bit, which is not typical, I think, of any other ISB characters that we've seen. She seems different, and they've already kind of alluded
hinted
to
at
the
that,
fact
yeah.
that she is different, right?
Yeah.
It kind of used to be
We
a
need more of
cop.
your
like,
kind
kind
here.
of, is that what they said?
don't
Like,
know.
maybe she used to be a cop, and they bring in people like you to. I don't know. It was very
gut
interesting. Like,
instinct. That
Yeah,
was, it was
gut
like,
instinct.
ooh.
Yeah, that was it.
Like, I don't care about that. We care about the facts
The
here. And I was
Force?
just like,
She's force sensitive. That's what it is. She's force
oh
sensitive.
my god.
God.
So let's speculate a little bit. Why do you guys think that she cares about this Star Path unit? Like, do you think is it she's literally just trying to climb the ladder? Is this something related to the rebellion? Like, what do you guys think?
I read the latter. I read that
Okay.
she is. I think that she is. Again, he says she's been here for a year. The lieutenant guy, Belvin, I think Blevin says to her, like, "Oh, you've been here over a year," and I think she is seeing now an opportunity
Jerk.
to use this for advancement. 'Cause she just saw all the corporate sector guys completely get demoted and completely get shot down, and I think she is very representative of this empirical mindset, like Alexander says, that is always looking for a jurisdiction and is always looking for an excuse to make themselves look good because they're all out for self-interest. They are all out for themselves because once you get promoted, that like all you want is the next promotion. That's kind of the whole thing about the Empire. So I think that she is new and has now gotten a sniff of something she can use to impress her superiors.
Mm.
And I think that she is less emotionally attached than Cyril, who was on the ground. I think she's just like, I think I can make this work very well. It
Yeah.
wasn't a huge robbery, obviously, because no one's really asking about it. But I think now if she can tie this to a rebel cell, and I think she is now seeing, she said something about I'm recognizing a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I think she is going to be the canary in the coal mine that figures out a rebellion is happening. And I think they're just going to shut her down. And then in retrospect, it's going to be like, oh my God, she knew that this was going on. And
Yeah.
she's going to be like, no one's listening to me. And I think she's going to get incredibly frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's gonna
yeah.
she's gonna be the one that initially tips off everybody, and then they find out who is the leader in that group inside the ISB, the older man.
Major Partagaz.
Major Partagaz is gonna be like,
Where's that fuck
wow, she was right. I think I have to kill
They're
her.
gonna
And
They're gonna make a new special edition of A New Hope, and right before the Death Star explodes, Deidre's gonna be like, "I told you," and then it just blows up.
What did I say?
Deidre!
Yeah, she's really interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think there's, because I know you're mentioned it and you noted it, that could she be like rebellion? Is she the one that's kind of looking out for the cells? Like,
Well,
again, everyone's lying, as we've established. Everyone's lying in this show.
She's the only one that's found this pattern, right, of the way they steal the items that they steal and the planets that they do it on. She's the only one that's seen that out of everybody, and then that's how the Major was like, "Yeah, this is why we picked you. You're different." And so,
well, Wes, Ferrix is the only planet they do it on, canonically so far.
Well.
There's other things she does it unfair. I'm just saying it's for the technicalities.
Okay. Well, the other things that have been stolen.
Technically correct. The best kind of correct.
The best kind of correct.
Okay. But I don't know. Putting her with the rebellion now is kind of a far fetch, I think, because she is. We don't know her backstory. We don't know like where she originated from. Is she trying to climb the corporate ladder? I think they all are. I think there's something else. There's something else there. I mean, it's too easy to say she's trying to climb the corporate ladder. I think she's trying to, man, I don't know. I'm not sure right now. I think that's what they want us to think, for us to not know. So
yeah.
We are
maybe now. Maybe I was going to say maybe she is like I don't know. She's helping us along with the arc of that. You know, like the Imperials are always right on the heels of the rebellion. Like maybe that's the arc that she's going to be, and she is going to be a villain. Sure. I would like to see her kind of like be a little more villainous, I think, kind of at the end of the show, because I really enjoyed the villain arc of Price in Rebels, like of how evil she was and cutthroat she was, and that's a really good arc too. And it's cool to see, like we don't get a lot of like women villains, so I feel like it would be cool to see somebody in that position, especially a woman. That would be cool. So
I agree.
Yeah, and I like Alexander in the chat and Cohen both agreeing. Like, I think that she's gonna stick with Cyril. I think that she's gonna be like, wait, you're the one that knew about this. Maybe bring him in. So now, whether he rebels or not, I think I agree. I think she's gonna stick Imperial, and maybe if he defects while she doesn't, that's very Callus Price, right? That's the whole thing. So maybe they don't want to repeat that, but also that's interesting. I just think their back and forth is going to be fascinating, and I think Cyril might find her very intriguing as a presence, professionally, personally. I'm very excited to see more of them. But I think what's interesting here, before we get into one of our final points about all the freaking Easter eggs that were in this episode, for a show that doesn't have Easter eggs, shut up. What I love is that most of the stuff we're talking about here is all characters that aren't Cassian, and it proves this is an ensemble show. Like, they told us this from the top, and like this episode, I'm like, everything about this is fascinating. I love Diego, I love the Cassian stuff, but they're really putting all these other characters at the forefront of intrigue, and they're writing it so well that I'm more than happy to watch an ISB meeting.
I know.
Like, for an hour.
One kind of toxic opinion, if you want to go that far, it borders on the folks that have toxic opinions. Is kind of probably who I saw it from. I saw on Reddit.
Go ahead, Corey.
Like, I know. I'm in the scene here. This is one of the weird things that I didn't know that I was going to agree with, that I actually do really agree with. I saw a funny meme that was like if Andor was directed by what am I trying to say? Filoni and Favreau and stuff. And it was like, it was showing like the rebellion crew or whatever, like that scene that you showed a minute ago, Wes, with the characters all standing there in the shot. And then somebody photoshopped in like Bane and Ahsoka and Luke and Grogu and the Mandalorian, like all in the background, like a bazillion cameos, which is a little funny to me, because like I am starting to feel that way a little bit about the Filoni Favreau stuff. It's like, you can't, I mean, honestly, every single episode is almost like, I wonder who's going to cameo this week. You know, like it's a little insane to me. And I think, you know, the truth of the matter is Filoni just really loves his characters that he's created.
Yeah, and there's place for that.
Yeah, there's a place for that. But I think we all really saw like like kind of out of place, like the whole Mando, Ahsoka, Luke arc in Book of Boba Fett was. It was very odd, right? So
yeah,
like
it was fun, but it was like
I know.
incongruous.
I have to say that I really appreciate the, maybe go as far to say the risk that it is at this point to like not do that, because to create a show like this that is about one film, right? That Rogue One, that maybe by some craziness, like some of the more casual fans have not seen, I guess, maybe, which is a shame, but I could maybe see that maybe casual fans have not seen Rogue One. So this is about characters from that film, and to not like throw in any other kind of stuff so far in episode 4. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we make it all the way to the end of this season without getting a single cameo from someone we know, like some major character, because it doesn't make sense in this context to have Luke show up or Grogu show up. It doesn't make sense for that to happen. So I'd say I appreciate that. I have to appreciate that because that is a bit risky, I think, to do. So
yeah, because I mean, even in Rogue, we hear Mon Mothma ask Bail, right, like your friend, the Jedi, like under her breath, like they have not been working with Jedi, so like Force sensitives, more than likely, ain't going to be part of this. That being said, though, I mean, Wes, I want to give you the floor because you wrote about the moment where I think a lot of us freaked out. The most, speaking of like verbal cameos, I guess you could call that.
Yes.
This was a great moment.
Before I get into that, because I don't want to lose this screenshot that I did. There's a lot of similarities of large groups, whether it be the Rebellion, the Empire, or anybody else, where they gather around a map and look at like what they are discussing. Like they have that in Rogue One, they have it but the Empire in episode 4, everybody is gathering around and discussing almost like a group of leaders. And I just thought that was interesting. They did with this. With them, they don't have electronics. They have an archaic map. They have models. So I thought that was pretty cool that they added in there, and Skeen over there in the hammock. He was like, I don't give a shit about what y'all are talking about. I'm just going to put my life on the line, which is funny.
Yeah,
but,
right.
So yes, let's talk about the one quote that we saw very beginning with Luthen handing over this necklace of Kyber, or what was it? Sky Stone. And
Quadi Signet.
Yes, and advising the
Signet.
It celebrates the uprising of the Rakatan invaders. And I was like, man, I have heard that before. Where is that from? And so I looked it up. It is definitely KOTOR. It's KOTOR before even KOTOR, right? So this is about the species. Yeah.
It's KOTOR, Knights of the really old Republic.
It was what was the world? Rakata?
Ricotta.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, so that they basically this species was all force sensitive. Usually, your species, you have a couple force sensitive beings within the species. This entire species was force sensitive, and they basically took over the galaxy. And they went in and they stripped the world of their resources and their minerals, and they moved on. Much why Tatooine looks the way it does now, because it used to be lush and green, and they went in there and stripped it of its minerals. So they eventually, with infighting and civil war and all that, they kind of dwindled their numbers, and then they became planet bound, and they had other people come in and battle them, and they eventually died off. But I mean, this whole concept of the uprising and being a celebration or a symbol and holding a blue Kyber crystal is the first time we've seen Kyber crystal before any of the Jedi. So before, episode 2, or episode 3, I'm sorry. So it was pretty interesting. He only wants 50,000 credits for it, though. I mean, that doesn't seem like enough.
Well, and he says, whatever you can get it means more to me. And it's of the ancient world. He talks about it, and I'm like, one, obviously he's a seller of antiquities. Like that's his cover, if not how he started. So he could have gotten it there, but I'm also like, why for you so specifically is this one thing? And then my conspiracy theory goes to, the last episode when we first saw him, he has that staff that condenses like a lightsaber almost. And I'm like,
oh,
what are you doing? What are you doing here, Luthen? What's, why? I am fascinated by this because it also, someone made a good point. It connects Cassian and Jin, because Jin's mom gives her the Kyber crystal necklace, and then Luthen gives Cassian the Kyber crystal necklace. So it's kind of like that nice mirroring moment. And this moment was awesome, not only for the Easter egg, but also for what it could mean for Luthen's character, who, again, maybe the most interesting person in the show.
Yeah. Can we talk about more of the Easter eggs that
Yeah.
were specifically in Luthen's shop? Because I did not catch all these, but there's some great like Twitter threads that show a lot of screenshots, because a lot of people talked about that Keldor mask, right? When that was seen in one of the last trailers they put out. But y'all, if you look in the background, there's a Jedi and Sith holocron. There's a Gungan shield.
That's the weirdest one.
A Gungan shield. One, right? Oh,
yeah. There's a Calicori, like from Rebels that Hera had. There was some Mandalorian armor. I mean, it was ridiculous, the number of Easter eggs in that like 3-minute scene, probably.
Yeah. Star Killer's dark side armor from the end of Force Unleashed. Yep, Cohen.
Star Wars Explained has a video about all this stuff in the shot, and he highlights it all, and pretty impressive. And we talked about last episode that weirdly not very many Easter eggs in the first 3 episodes, so I guess they were just saving it all for this one. Look at this.
I like it done this.
Yeah, me too.
I kind of like it more subtle, like you would have to see it or find it, or it's like a verbal reference to something very unique and not that everyone would know, so it's not so in your face. Like that's kind of, I like it kind of just threaded in more naturally.
I completely agree. I thought it worked great this way. Like, you don't need to know that it's like Tarful's Wookiee headdress and like that there's a Wookiee horn and like all these things. Which, by the way, the Wookiee horn, that's going to be one of the things in Kristen Baver's upcoming 101 Objects of the Star Wars Galaxy or something, which I thought was fun. Pre-order that book. We're a book show. But I thought this was such a cool way. Again, and then, of course, the Mortis tablets were my favorite thing in there. I don't think that you have to be a huge Star Wars fan to notice all that stuff. It doesn't take anything out. It's just, hey, we're in a museum. This looks like a bunch of galactic stuff. That's neat. But the props designers got to have a great time being like, okay, what would be in here? Like, that's what's so fun. And Tony Gilroy also talks so much about his production designer that he worked with. His name is Luke, I believe, in a bunch of interviews, because he's like, the production designer was one of the first people he hired on the entire project before anything was written, before anything was created, because he's like, we're going to be working so closely together because we have to make all of these sets. We have to make all these props. We have to know what it looks like when we shoot it. And I'm like, it shows. You planned out everything in this show with a production designer before you wrote a script. Like, it makes it look so good. God, this show's awesome.
It is so good. I mean, honestly, what would you guys rate it at right now out of 10, out of curiosity? Because I'm like up there. This is like almost perfect for me. I mean, honestly, all 3 episodes have almost been 10 out of 10 for me. Like,
I'd say like 9 for me.
In the 9 out of 9 point something out of 10. Like, if I have to do something, only because I want to see what's coming next. Like, but the season, if you're looking at the season, 10 out of 10 as far as like the presentation of the season goes. I am just so thrilled with everything we've seen from it. Yep, there's more of the shop we're seeing here on YouTube that Wes is pulling up. I am blown away by it, and the fact where I am so excited to see it in a time when, if for some reason you're listening to this years down the line, we're getting House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, and Andor every single week. So every single nerd gets something amazing. This is probably still my most anticipated every week, and I'm like, that is a huge, huge order.
Yeah,
it is.
Doing great fantasy shows.
Putting in these Easter eggs, much like, I mean, the Mortis arc was it's like one of the most talked about arcs in Clone Wars, and then the lore because it spread over to Rebels, and then these stone tablets to the far right are the like depictions of the Mortis gods. I don't know if, I mean, they got to be. They're obviously renditions, right? The ones are like gigantic as the real ones, but
and it's like their hand signs. I think
they are
particular.
Yeah,
the hand
signs. For the father, the daughter, and the son.
And behind this snake thing right here is where that is where the Gungan shield was. So in case anybody wants to go back and look at that, but great, like all these little pieces. This was a perfect spot, and a perfect way to have Easter eggs put in and put Luthen as a antiquities dealer, and then be like, oh man, we can put in all kinds of stuff. Oh, and there's the mask. I just looked at it right here. Just the mask right in the middle of the okay,
that's it.
Down there in the middle and the bottom. So there's the
what
mask.
Is that?
That's the
Keldor mask.
Keldor mask. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah.
And also, what a great way to fence money. to be like, oh, Mon Mothma, if she needs to give money to the rebellion.
Oh, I didn't even think about
I'm buying
that.
this for my husband.
Yeah.
Here's a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, that's art.
And then, of course,
laundering, huh?
Art is frequently a laundering scheme.
Wash
'cause,
that
like,
stuff.
it's one of those insane
Yeah.
things that it's very easy just to make up numbers and this is what it's worth, right? So like, yeah, this was it was really cool. Just the whole that entire scene was just one of the best scenes I think we've ever seen in live action. Like just the intrigue and the lying and the mask and I don't know, just so good.
I heard you got me a present. It's going back.
Yeah. Is there a rumor you got me a present?
I know. We haven't talked about that guy too terribly much, other than what we said earlier, I guess. But just I hate that guy. He's a douche. He's a douche. Real douche.
in Variety, because I think again next episode I think we're gonna see either the fallout from that party or maybe the party itself. Tony Gilroy mentioned that apparently these two were married at 16.
Yeah.
And it was kind of an arranged marriage, he revealed on Variety. So I'm like, that makes it makes, and they have a daughter. So I'm like, I am so interested, one, if that kid A is alive, two, does show up at all. And like we're gonna watch, he says it's one of the hardest relationships he's ever written. And I'm like, we're gonna watch this marriage kind of crumble in front of us. Yeah. Which, I mean, again, everyone listening, if you're in a marriage, I hope it's great. Hope it's lovely. I love watching marriages disintegrate in TV, man. It is
all right.
Like, it is Mad Men, Breaking Bad. I want this toxicity. But like seeing Mon Mothma be in that situation, which I think is also pretty realistic of some folks in marriages, you're at that point where one person starts to be very idealistic and start to like fight for something. Another person says, I don't care who like, these are my friends. What does it matter? Like the political divide in marriages is very real in our modern world. So I'm like, we're going to see that in a Star Wars show. And I think throughout this first season, we're going to really see that come to fruition.
Yeah. Big fan.
Damn, it's good.
Big fan.
They left this stuff. They left us with a, with more to want for next Wednesday, right? They were like, all right, here we go. And you're just like, credits. You're like, you screwed us.
I thought it was going to be 2.5 hours again.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot wait for next week already. I'm glad that this one was like 47 minutes, I think. I hope now that we're getting one at a time, they continue to be more towards 50 minutes than like 35. We'll see. I'm sure when we actually get the Ocean's 11 heist, it'll be shorter just because of the effects. But, I mean, wow.
The credits are very long. Like 7-minute credits.
A lot of people worked on this show. Yeah. Like, Tony Gilroy said, I think throughout the whole first season, there's like 180 speaking roles.
Wow.
Over 12 episodes?
You owe me a Coke,
180? Oh my God. That is.
Yeah.
Man,
he's like, we saw every British actor. We saw all of them. They're like,
seriously.
Yeah. Can't wait for more. And we're going to keep getting it. Again, next week, episode 5. It's, for those of you that may have missed the earlier episodes on how this is split up, it's going to be this is the middle episode in the second arc. So I'm assuming we're going to get more of the plan. I don't know if we're going to get the plan this episode and then the fallout. But I mean, gosh, the quality remains super high and I can't wait for more. But we're going to have to because my friends and I will do it for this week's episode of Bounty Hunt. Keep your eyes out for our next hunt, and we'll be diving into episode 5 of Andor. A special thank you to Brian Dooley, Patrick Ortiz, Earl Q, Robert Thomas, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, and James T, Elizabeth Cloutier, Ashley Ingalls, and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command. Go ahead and tell us all your thoughts about Andor in our Discord channel at utini.com/Discord. Make sure to use those spoiler tags, of course, and follow the main show on Twitter at Living Force Pod and catch us every Monday night here. Follow us all individually about all our things Star Wars. I'm at Eric Eilerson. Corey is at Corey M. Helton. Charles is at C. Hankel. Wes is at Boss Wes. Until next time. God, this show's so good, guys. I got nothing else. Is it Wednesday?